Now, the first and most important warning is do not send crypto to the addresses in this presentation, right? We have burned the private keys on purpose. Despite the presence of this warning, people have now sent more than 2 Bitcoin to addresses in my book that are lost forever. Or, if you like, gifted to the rest of the economy through deflation. All right, so you probably know the mythology and history of Bitcoin and where this amazing technology and invention came from. It all started in October of 2008 when Satoshi Nakamoto published a white paper on a cypherpunk mailing list. We now know that when Satoshi published this paper, they had already been working on the software. Satoshi wrote the paper after writing the software, once they were convinced that the software would work. But the paper was published first. So an interesting little historical tidbit there. You may notice that when I talk about Satoshi Nakamoto, I refer to Satoshi as they. This is not necessarily a plural noun, they. It's a indeterminate pronoun. So they, because Satoshi could be male, Satoshi could be female, Satoshi could be non-binary, Satoshi could be alien. Satoshi could be a group of people. Satoshi could be the name of a committee or project. We don't know. It does not matter at all. In January, the software was released, and on January 3rd, the first block, the Genesis block, was mined. Interesting fact also, the Genesis block was not mined with the client. It was mined using some other software, manually, effectively mined by a custom script, and is included in every piece of software that uses Bitcoin. There is a copy of the Genesis block and its fingerprint. That is what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is a blockchain that originates from that Genesis block. 7 days later, Hal Finney, a world-renowned cryptographer who unfortunately passed 2 years ago, joins the network and starts mining. At this point, there are 2 miners on the network. So in terms of decentralization, the Bitcoin network is much more decentralized today. When people say, oh, it's too centralized, there's only a few miners. Well, at first there was 1. That was centralized. Then there was 2. That was a bit less centralized. And actually, if you look at it historically, we're getting more decentralized over time. Almost 10 months later, in October 2009, the first fiat exchange that has been recorded was made on an exchange where $1 bought 1,000 Bitcoin, presumably from a miner. And then almost 5 months later, or 6 months later, Pizza Day. Laszlo Hanyek went out and said, I would like to make a commercial transaction to establish a baseline value for Bitcoin in a commercial realm. And Laszlo Hanyek arranged for someone to buy pizza with Bitcoin. Now, this did not mean that he got Domino's Pizza to accept Bitcoin. No, this is a much simpler transaction. He persuaded someone to use their credit cards to call Domino Pizza and deliver 2 pizzas to Laszlo's house. And in return, Laszlo sent 10,000 Bitcoin. 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas, which now makes this the most expensive pizzas ever purchased in the history of humanity. Laszlo has some regrets. But without commercial activity like that, we wouldn't have the network we have today. In December of 2010, just about 2 years after first appearing on the scene, Satoshi Nakamoto posts the last message and vanishes. Satoshi Nakamoto has not appeared again since. Several other people have appeared claiming to be Satoshi Nakamoto and failing to provide the most basic and simple evidence of that, which is to sign a message using one of the keys in the first few blocks. What does signing a message using one of the keys in the first few blocks prove? Does it prove that someone is Satoshi Nakamoto? No. It proves that someone has the keys that Satoshi Nakamoto used to mine, which they may have acquired using different means. What it proves is they might be Satoshi Nakamoto. But if they don't sign a message with one of the keys in the Genesis block, what does that prove? It proves they aren't Satoshi Nakamoto, because Occam's razor. The simple answer is probably correct. Now, the word Bitcoin means many different things, and therefore some of the confusion that arises in this space comes from vocabulary. Bitcoin is a network, Bitcoin is a blockchain, Bitcoin is a currency, Bitcoin is a system, Bitcoin is an invention, Bitcoin is a white paper, Bitcoin isn't a company, Bitcoin isn't a trademark, Bitcoin isn't an organization. Bitcoin is a disorganization, a very powerful disorganization. If you see it with a capital B, usually or sometimes that means the network, the system itself, a decentralized peer-to-peer network that creates consensus without needing a central authority. That is Bitcoin, the system, proper noun, capital B, right? Bitcoin with a lowercase b is a currency. So the money is called Bitcoin with a lowercase b. It's not Bitcoins, right? Because Bitcoin applies for both singular and plural purposes. I have lots of Bitcoin, or I have no Bitcoin. I have 1 Bitcoin. I have 3 Bitcoin. Nowhere do I say Bitcoins. If you spell Bitcoin with a space, B-I-T space, C-O-I-N, welcome to this space. Please don't write an article for your newspaper yet. It's too obvious that you just joined. Blockchain. Blockchain is one component of the technology infrastructure of Bitcoin, the system. One component, not the most important component, not the most revolutionary component. In fact, that technology pre-existed. In fact, most of the technologies used in Bitcoin pre-existed. Hashes, hash trees, cryptography, public key cryptography, digital signatures, proof of work. All of these things existed before Bitcoin. The invention is to take all of these things together and leverage proof of work as a mechanism for consensus that allows us to control a blockchain in a decentralized manner when no one has ultimate control over it. Can you build a consensus algorithm different than proof of work? Yes. Can you build a blockchain that is not decentralized and doesn't use proof of work? Yes. Blockchain is not the most interesting technology in Bitcoin, and this is often misunderstood. Blockchain is like the transmission in your car. Very important, absolutely necessary to keep moving, but no one said, oh, finally, with the invention of the internal combustion engine in the automobile, we now have the ability to build transmission-based vehicles. Nobody said, I like cars, but I'm more interested in the technology behind cars, transmissions. In the blockchain space, a lot of people make the statement, well, Bitcoin's interesting, but means I haven't understood it yet. Bitcoin's interesting, but I'm more interested in the technology behind Bitcoin, blockchains. These newfangled automobiles are interesting, but I'm more interested in the revolutionary technology behind automobiles, pneumatic inflatable tires. If we could combine pneumatic inflatable tires with the steady traditional propulsion mechanism of horses, we could really do something interesting. We're going to go for the rest of this course based on some fundamental user stories. This is a technique I use in my books too, in order to help move the narrative forward so we can understand. Ultimately, this technology is about people, right? Money is a social structure. And these blockchain systems, these networks, are social structures that technology enables, and therefore, people are important. In this particular case, we're going to use three people: Alice, Bob, and Catalina. Alice lives in Europe. She's new to Bitcoin. In this course, we'll see her buy her first Bitcoin, and we'll talk about how that works, and use it then to buy a book from a United States publisher called Bob. Bob lives in the US, runs an online bookstore, and has a lot of customers outside the US who make payments in different currencies, including Bitcoin. Catalina is an Argentinian web developer with clients all around the world, and one of her clients is Bob. And now we'll follow their stories through this book. We're going to use these stories to illustrate three different transactions, how those transactions work, what they're made of, and gradually explore the various technologies behind Bitcoin using these transactions as a reference. First of all, Alice uses cash to buy Bitcoin from a Bitcoin ATM. Then Alice uses Bitcoin to buy a book from Bob's web store, and what a great choice of book. Bob then uses Bitcoin to pay Catalina's invoice for web design. So let's start with Alice buys Bitcoin from a Bitcoin ATM. How many here have used a Bitcoin ATM ever? Okay, wow, quite a few. Very good. So how do you get your first Bitcoin? And that's a question that comes up a lot, especially with newbies, right? And the common answer most people will say is, oh, go and sign up for an account on this exchange, and they mention an exchange, and use your bank account or your credit card to buy Bitcoin. That is an acceptable answer. It's not a good answer. So let's look at some good answers. First and foremost, earn. Get paid in Bitcoin. Most people don't even think about this one, right? What are the benefits of using your labor, the products you make, the services you offer, the skills you have to earn crypto? This doesn't just apply to Bitcoin, of course, but any form of money. The huge benefit of earning crypto instead of buying it is privacy. If you go and offer someone a haircut or drive a taxi or wash a car or paint a painting or set up a web server and you get paid in Bitcoin, are they going to ask you for your driver's license, passport, birth certificate, grandma's maiden name, social security number, passport number, proof that you're not Iranian? No. You're going to get the job done. You're going to get paid in crypto. So you just earned your first crypto, and it's private. It's a private commercial transaction between two individuals. Privacy matters. Secondly, what is the exchange fee you pay when you earn Bitcoin? 0. That is the best exchange fee to pay. 0. Nobody's going to charge you a fee. In fact, in many countries, you might actually get a premium for that. You don't always have to be self-employed to do that. Many companies offer an opportunity to get paid directly in crypto, either as your whole salary or as part of your salary. I currently employ 11 people, some as employees, some as contractors. Several of them get paid partially or wholly in crypto. Some Bitcoin, some Ether, some a mix of the two, bit of US dollar